Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this day. I just thank you for the beautiful weather, dear Lord. Just thank you for giving us traveling grace, dear Lord. Just pray that you bless the business that we do. May we do it in your will and to benefit all the people that we serve, dear Lord. Just thank you for loving and protecting us. In your name we pray. Amen.
It's always good to make the mayors feel included. All right, entertain a motion to approve today's minutes.
Motion.
All right, motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposition like sign. Hearing none, minutes are approved. I think I probably made a mistake with Kevin Cotton sitting so close to me saying that. All right, financial reports. Alicia Sutton will provide that today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everybody should have a copy of the financial report in their packet. As of this point of the year, we should be at 58.33% of the overall budget. This does include the revised budget that we passed last board meeting. So actual expenditures are at 39.97%. And on the revenue side, we've accrued about 37%. So all of the line items are within about a 10% variance outside of the service expense line item. And I do want to kind of explain that one. So this fiscal year, we're doing a lot of financial management services, and included in that is a lot of payroll expenses for our Veterans Directed Care program and our Medicaid Home Community-Based Waiver Program. And Peyton will kind of talk about the expansion there and how the growth is going along in that program this fiscal year. But since a lot of that is payroll, we are behind. When you process payroll, you're about a week and a half behind on processing that. So at fiscal year end, we'll accrue about 1.5 payrolls. So that will increase that payroll expense and kind of get us lined up with the budget. So I do want to explain why it looks to be 20% behind in that category, but that is just due to the payroll and how payroll is delayed. So in your normal jobs, you don't get paid immediately. There's a little bit of delay in that. So the same thing happens in these financial management services that we provide. So overall, we're looking good. I don't have any concerns with the budget and where we'll stand at the end of the fiscal year. So Mr. Chair, we'll need a motion to adjourn. Motion to approve.
All right, motion. Yeah, I like it. We have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mayor Cotton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposition like sign. Hearing none, financial report is approved. Federal and state reports. Ms. Morgan Alvey from Senator McConnell's office.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a brief legislative update, and I want to highlight some wins for the Pennyroyal region as part of the last couple appropriations packages that have been enacted since our last meeting. The first package that passed in earlier part of January, I think it actually ended up being later in the week after the last board meeting, contained $7.45 million for several maintenance and upgrade projects at Land Between the Lakes as part of the Interior and Environment Bill. Also part of that same package was the Commerce Justice Science Bill that contained $2.5 million for equipment. Congratulations, Mayor Cotton. For equipment at the cybercrime facility in Madisonville as part of the new West Kentucky Law Enforcement Training Academy. And then the most recent package that passed that was just enacted last week contained $2 million for Madisonville Community College to purchase equipment for its aviation program, and that was part of the Labor HHS Education Bill. So these last two packages that have passed combined with the bill that ended the shutdown back in November now means that 11 of the 12 annual appropriations bills have been enacted into law. That leaves only the Homeland Security Appropriations Bill, and that is currently on a 2-week continuing resolution that ends on Friday. So further action on that one will be needed. Whether that ends up being another CR or a full year bill is still up in the air. I would also point out that DHS includes agencies like FEMA, like TSA. So it goes a little bit broader, I think, than when folks just think Homeland Security. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. And thank you, as always, for having me.
Thank you, Morgan. Next up, we have Jason Hassert from Senator Paul's office.
Good afternoon to everyone. It's great to see all the ice and snow rapidly disappearing. Senator Paul is working on several issues in Washington. One is that he has proposed a bill to stop funding welfare benefits for non-citizens. He's been very concerned about all the fraud that we've been seeing out of Minnesota, and he has said over and over again for many years that we continue to hand out a lot of these benefits on autopilot, which is raising our national debt, which is at almost $38 trillion now. And that takes away from the safety net that our government is set up to provide for people that are citizens that are in need of help. It takes away from our infrastructure and many other things. So he will be advocating for that in the new year. He also remains committed to E15 gasoline. Corn is a very important part of our economy here in Western Kentucky, and he would like to see that become permanent legislation as well in 2026. Also, as we start out the new year, I know there are a lot of programs, especially for water, fire departments, and other things that are looking for grants. We would definitely, Senator Paul would like to help support your communities with those grants. So if you're in need of any assistance, please contact me or call our state office directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next up, we have Austin Weatherington from Congressman Comer's office.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. Good to see everyone. I'm going to sound like a little bit like a broken record here with Morgan's speech, but Congress has passed 11 of the 12 appropriation bills back in November. Congressman Comer was able to secure funding for the Trigg County Hospital Emergency Ambulance Building. That was $3 million. And then in the second package, which passed a little bit after January meeting, he was able to have Madisonville Sewer Lift Station, $1 million. So appreciate Mayor Cotton and Judge Whitfield and Jason Vincent on getting together good events to announce the funding for that, as well as the funding for the South Hopkins Water District, $750,000 for that. And then we also had a good visit, thanks to Judge Smith and everyone in Lyon County with the Eddyville wastewater treatment plant for $1 million announcement for that as well. In this most recent package, Congressman Comer was able to secure $1 million in funding for the Oak Grove water infrastructure, and as well as $1 million in the Marion Crittenden Airport. So two big projects that I know he was proud to secure for the area. And if you were keeping track, that's a total of $7.75 million in needed infrastructure funding in this region. So I'm excited to announce those, as well as I know Congressman Comer was to secure those. Appreciate Jason and Amy and the staff at the Penny Ryle Area Development District and advocating on these issues and keeping us up to date. And of course, looking forward to next year for approps. Like everyone said, if we could be helpful through a letter of support, or if you have a constituent issue, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I appreciate you all and thank you.
Thanks, Austin. We also have today from Governor Beshear's office, Alex Caudill and Miss Martha Jane King, but I think Alex is going to be the one doing it today.
I think we need to let Martha Jane do it.
Old Al on deck today, so y'all are stuck with me again. Good afternoon, everybody. We've got a big day coming up Thursday, West Kentucky Day in Frankfort. I know a lot of you all will be coming up for that, and Governor Beshear will be speaking to the group at 5 o'clock Eastern Time at the Country Club. So I look forward to seeing y'all in Frankfort on Thursday. And then on Friday, the governor will be back here in the Penny Ryle in Dawson Springs, Mayor, for groundbreaking at City Park there at 1 p.m. on Friday. So hope to see you all there and welcome the governor back to the Penny Ryle region. I put a few pamphlets out on your tables, a new funding guide with some of our updated deadlines for different grants and programs as the smaller brochure, and then the flyer for our county officials, dates for the county budget workshops that are coming up in the area. Of course, the last one is at the Penny Ryle here on March 4th from 9 to noon local time. So please go ahead and register for that if you would, and share that with your magistrates and other county officials as well. See you then. And I also put out a couple save the dates early for our 50th anniversary of the Governor's Local Issues Conference that'll be coming up in August at the Golf House. So feel free to take those flyers and post them up in your office to save the date for that. I think that's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Next, from KYTC, we have Greg Meredith.
Good afternoon. Just 3 updates from transportation that are relevant. First, the program that I kind of work with a lot, the City County Bridge Improvement Program. Its next cutoff date for applications is this Friday, the 13th. Friday the 13th is a lucky day, right? And so after that, we'll have one more round this year. We've got a total of $12 million approximately left in the program. We're certainly hopeful that it's renewed by the legislature in their budget. It was in the governor's proposed budget, and I think in House Bill 500, I think budget bill, it's also included. So there's a good chance that that program will continue. Secondly, the one that's important to the county certainly is rural road aid. Generally, if you're in the cooperative program, it's doled out in 3 different payments. In August, it's a 60% estimate based upon the consensus forecasting group about what they think the gas tax will be for the year. And then again in February, it's generally a 30%. And then after the end of the fiscal year, after all the money's been counted, then they make up for and get the number right based upon your allocation. So the announcement is this year, instead of the 30%, they're allocating 25% based upon the reduced gas tax revenue. So not that money won't come to you if it's there, it will. It's just going to be held back that 5%. So I know that. I think that was pretty much it. Besides, did anybody put in programs, applications for the TAP grants this year? I know several did. There were about 61, I think, statewide. And they are beginning to look at those and evaluate those and score them. Of course, you know, there's a new software they're using this year for the applications. It's made it really good, and it's going to make it simpler, I think, for the evaluators, but there's a learning curve to that. So look for those announcements to be about a month away, a month to 5 weeks. So they're working on those TAP grants. And that's it. Thank you for having me. Thanks for lunch.
Thank you, sir. We'll get straight into staff reports, beginning with Community and Economic Development. Ms. Amy Froak.
Good afternoon. That's exciting to hear that those TAP announcements will be coming that quickly. That's great news. I would like to draw your all's attention to your board packet. You should have, again, a funding memo in there if you would reference that. I just want to bring your attention again to some programs that may have some deadlines before we get together again in April, since we won't be having a March meeting. The Crumb Rubber Grant Program is officially open and up and running with a deadline of April the 1st. And that, as well as the Rubber Modified Asphalt Grant Program. Those two, I know we've heard from several of you all that show some interest in those programs. So if you have not reached out already, if you would get in contact with our staff, if you're interested in applying for those programs. The Recycling and Household Hazardous Waste Grant programs, again, are also available until April the 1st as well. All 4 of those programs are state grant programs. So the match that is required for those programs will have to be either local in kind or cash match on those programs. The Kentucky 911 Services Board Grant Program. This is for your next generation 911 equipment upgrades or your geospatial mapping data upgrades that you might need for your 911 centers. Those will be due on March the 31st. So that's rapidly approaching with the way the time is flying by. The Law Enforcement Protection Program, or the LEPP program. Again, this is an opportunity for your law enforcement officers to procure equipment like body armor, firearms, or body worn cameras. They do prioritize the body armor as their first choice for funding. So if you have any of those needs, again, let us know and we can help you out with getting those applications in. The Land and Water Conservation Fund Program. This is an opportunity for you all to make improvements in your parks and recreation facilities. There is a 50% match with the Land and Water Conservation Fund Program, with awards ranging from $25,000 to $1 million. So that threshold was increased within the last couple of years. So that is a great opportunity if you have those large recreation type projects for you all to tap into. The Recreational Trails Grant Program, it's similar. These are federal funds that flow down through the Department for Local Government for improvements in your trail facilities. And this can be motorized and non-motorized trails. The award maximum is a little smaller there with $250,000 with a 20% match requirement. Just as a reminder, since both of those programs are federal funds, there is still some money available in the grant program, which is those state dollars that were set aside during the last budget funding year to be used as match for those federal programs. So both Land and Water and Recreational Trails can tap into those grant funds to provide the match for those programs. The other one that I wanted to bring to your attention is the Delta Regional Authority CIF, or Community Infrastructure Fund. We do have been hearing that will be opening up in the very near future. That's for your larger infrastructure projects like water and sewer and gas projects. There's a threshold of $2 million for those applications, but we want to get those in as quickly as possible, as they're going to try to make those funding awards as those applications come in. Again, the DRA program is another one of those programs that we can use those state grant dollars to match that program. Again, our department will proactively work to identify additional funding sources as they become available and match up your all's priority projects with those funding sources and help you get those applications in for funding. In your packet, after the funding memo, if you would reference the intergovernmental review handouts, we had 3 projects submitted through that process during the last month. If you have any comments or would like to provide any additional information for those projects, just let us know and we'll get that submitted to the clearinghouse. And then again, just to echo what Alex said, and a reminder, our county budget workshop will be held on March the 4th here in this room from 9 until 12. And we look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you, Amy. Next, we'll have a report for Health and Family Services, Miss Amanda Stokes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have just a few quick updates for you following items that I had talked about in the January board meeting. With our comprehensive needs assessment survey, I had previously mentioned that we had a 49% return rate on that survey. With that, we have compiled all the data and we have identified that the top 3 community priorities based on response are home delivered meals, congregate meals in our senior centers, and transportation. As a snapshot for those individuals that completed that survey, they were predominantly female, age 70 and above, especially those in the 80 to 89 age group. Over 1/3 reported being widowed. 1/4 were veterans or the spouse of a veteran. 1 in 6 were caregivers. They were primarily lower income. More than half reported living alone. The majority reported at least 1 or more common chronic illnesses, and there were issues identified with food insecurity and nutrition challenges. Now, based on that survey data, it really highlights for us a growing population of older adults with increasing needs, including health, social connection, transportation, nutrition, along with ongoing challenges related to being lower income and being isolated in the community. This helps us to be mindful and reinforces the importance of our continued support and investment in our core aging services for the community. It also helps us into having some targeted strategies for helping older adults and their caregivers to make sure that they can remain as healthy as possible, independent, and safe in their communities. The data is available now region-wide, but we have broken it down by county. So if anyone is interested in that county data, you can see me after the meeting and I can supply that for you. Next up, we have our FY 27 through FY 29 area plan. As stated previously, this is a requirement of the Older Americans Act. It essentially is a local blueprint for how we plan, develop, deliver, and evaluate our Older Americans Act services within our region. The draft area plan is now available for review and public comment on the PeADD website. We also have scheduled a public hearing for February the 24th at 9 a.m. We are encouraging all who will to go in and review that plan and provide feedback. That public hearing is also being advertised in the Kentucky New Era and will be on our social media advertisements as well. That final version will be reviewed by the Area Agency on Aging and Independent Living Advisory Council on the 24th, and they'll make a recommendation to the PeADD Board Executive Committee for final approval before submission to the Department for Aging and Independent Living. Lastly, we have our RFP for our FY 27 through 29 services. Those are our Older Americans Act federally funded services, as well as our state funded services. Since our last meeting, legal review has been completed, as well as the Department for Aging and Independent Living staff review of that. We also will be releasing a public notice in the Kentucky New Era tomorrow, announcing the official date for that RFP to be released. Once it is released, it will be accessible on the PeADD website for any entities that are interested in viewing that. Upon completion and receipt of all of those proposals, we will meet, we'll score those proposals, we will present those to our advisory council, and then a recommendation will be made to PeADD Board for approval in May of 2026, with those awards being effective July 1st of 2026. And last in your packet, I will call your attention to the Health and Family Services report for December, as well as our waiting list. Those are available for review and break down the info by county as far as changes in clients and the services that we offer. Now, I will say in February, we are pushing to add new clients on to meals, homemaking, and personal care, which is wonderful news for our area. The February weather is fighting us a little bit on making progress with that, but we are trying to hit the ground running hard with that so we can get new clients served as quickly as possible in February. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda. Next up, we have PeADD and PeADD.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Wanted to provide a brief update in regards to our Veterans Directed Care Program as well as our waiver program. Over the past several months, you've heard a lot of positive updates, and a few words that keep getting said over and over is expansion and growth. And so I wanted to stand up here today, kind of give you some numbers that go along with some of those expansions. So our Home and Community-Based Waiver Program, it's basically a program that's geared towards individuals with any forms of disability, whether it be cognitive, developmental, physical. It allows caregivers to come into those homes and provide those care to those clients with the ultimate goal of preventing or prolonging an individual being institutionalized in a long-term care facility. So probably over the past year or so, the way waiver works is it's actually allocated by slot. So there's a specific amount of slots that the state of Kentucky will allow individuals, and that converts over to people who can access the program. And so for over a year and a half, probably almost 2 years after COVID, there would be some months when there would be maybe one slot available, maybe next month, and maybe two. Then we may go in a stretch where there may not be zero, it'd be zero for 2 or 3 months straight. And so since August of 2025, we have received over 100 slots. And so what that is, that basically means that these individuals have basically met the beginning processes. There's a slot available for them, and it starts the process with them. So you heard, again, it goes back to growth, expansion. So 100 and something slots is a whole lot, especially since August of 2025. And so there's going to be a lot of growth on there. As far as active clients, we are currently serving 305 active clients. We currently have pending status as 79, as well as some additional ones that came through recently. Other one everybody keeps talking about, we keep hearing good stuff about, is our Veterans Directed Care Program. It's very similar to the way that it functions. It is there for our disabled veterans. It does not have to be a service-related injury. It can be an injury that onset 20 years after their service. And so basically it allows caregivers of their selection to come into the home under the VA Medical Center, ACL, to provide assistance to them to keep them in their home. So the VDC program is actually outgrowing the waiver program. And so basically what we're at right now is PeNROL is basically one of 4 super hubs in the entire United States. We were selected. I do believe we earned that title. Very proud of that title. And so what that means is we have a lot of working relationships. We currently have working relationships with 11 VA medical centers, 18 spoke agencies that are spread out through the U.S. that operate under our contracts with the VA Medical Center. Those expansions were in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Alabama, and West Virginia. A few weeks ago, we were also KIPTA's. We have several ads in Kentucky that operate under us, but we were working with KIPTA, and probably about 2 weeks ago, we've actually got them to expand into Indiana further. There was a need for services in specific targeted areas of the VA's targets. Wasn't a lot of resources, and basically the VA said, "Hey, we got several veterans over here that need help. Can we see if one of the current spokes will step up and do that?" Reached out to KIPTA. They ran it through their board, and it was a yes. And so they've expanded, and actually have started receiving referrals, I think as early as last week. And those include Clark, Harrison, Floyd, and Scott counties in Indiana. Current active numbers for VDC is 425 active clients, 79 pending clients. And then the last thing I'll mention too, that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole point of the presentation about the growth and the expansion, is just last week alone, we received 19 new referrals across the states. I think that may be, besides when we first started the expansion, probably the highest number ever. The biggest difference between waiver and VDC is with waiver, they have to go through an assessment process. They have a slot available for them potentially, but they do have to be assessed by an RN and a nurse assessor to see if they deemed eligible for the program. VDC operates differently. They assess them prior to even sending them to us. So as long as everything goes well, the support system's in place, or we can get one in place, those 19 referrals, or unless somebody passes away, which happens as well, those 19 referrals will go active. So it's a big difference between waiver. You may have 100 and something slots come available, but maybe only 50 of them actually go active for whatever reason. So we're continuing to grow. There's a lot of excitement around the programs. I have ideas in mind as well as specific areas we want to reach out to, speaking with the VA medical centers on areas that they want to see us reach out to as well. So we're very proud of both programs, but that kind of give you some ideas of the budget numbers and all that stuff that we've been discussing the past few months. We're continuing to grow. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? All right. Thank y'all very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, we're going to receive a report about the West Kentucky Workforce Board from Ms. Sheila Clark.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to just touch base on our putting young Kentuckians to work and remind you, if you have an opportunity, to thank our legislators that we appreciate those dollars, and fortunately or unfortunately, we've obligated almost every penny of that. And we're getting ready to ease off enrollments in that just because we've run out of money. And individuals that are in training right now will deplete probably the rest of our dollars. And then we have individuals that are employed through on-the-job training programs that Tom Shugler and Marianne Medlock are writing for us. And that is still building and moving forward. We do have some other dollars that we're able to put those individuals in as those dollars are depleted, but they too have limitations. So we'll be on a waiting list before long with those activities for truly the youth areas. And looking at that, we've been very successful so far because we have partnered with the business community, and we're writing those on the job training contracts for high wage amounts. And I think Becky Wells had told you the details of that last month. But as you're going to Frankfurt, or I think that many of you will be going to Frankfurt, you might mention that if the opportunity comes up, that we surely appreciate those dollars in our community when many of our other programs, we're having to put people on waiting lists for services there. I did want to mention that we have an upcoming board meeting on March the 10th here at the Pensacola Area Development District. And we'll have all of our partners at that meeting, get some reports. We'd welcome you all to be a part of that at any time. We are in hopes that we can talk a little more about our Delta Regional Authority grant that's looking at our high demand sectors. And I want Tammy Hyde to come up and tell us a little bit about the eligibility for that program and how we're able to serve those individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We are excited about the Delta Regional Authority grant, and we have finally completed all of our requirements on that. So we're getting ready to roll that out. Hopefully by the end of this week, we'll be talking with our direct service provider and career coaches to explain a little bit about how this works. Their age limit is 18 and up, so there's no restriction on how old you can be to participate in the program. We will do short-term trainings with the program, and we will also do on-the-job training contracts with the program. Eligibility requirements are very minimal. We have to prove your date of birth and social security verification. We do service veterans with this grant as well. So if they're a veteran, we'll need a copy of their DD-214. And we have no income requirement on this and no underemployed. We will serve underemployed, unemployed. We can serve any individual in this. So the sky is kind of the limit on here, and that's how it was written so that we can assist and help anybody in our communities that need that extra credential to get them that better job or the extra push to get them into the OJT. I know Sheila referenced the Putting Young Kentuckians to Work grant, and what a lot of employers have told us about that, and we're hoping the same thing for this grant, is that this has given them an opportunity to hire some of the younger individuals and give them a chance that they might not would have done in the past, because we're paying a portion of that salary and they allow them to have a little bit of extra training to go along with what they're doing. And so I think that has been one benefit to the individuals that we have served there. And we hope that this money will be able to do the same thing. So we're very excited about that. One other thing we have is we still have the storms grant from last year that we received. That's still open. As long as it's open, we can serve individuals that are impacted by any of our storms. So the recent snow, ice event, if you have businesses in your area that have had to have closures or have employees that need assistance through that, then please send them to us. We'll be glad to assist them as well. Until that pot of funding is spent, primarily Department of Labor at this point is not as willing to give additional storm grant monies as they have been in the past. So what we want to see is help whoever we can with what we have, and then we'll request more funds as we become low on that. But right now, we have plenty of funds on that grant as well to be able to assist anybody that might have been impacted by these recent snow and ice event storms. So if you have anybody like that, please let us know. We'll be glad to assist them as well. If you have no questions, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to new business, we have no issues to report under our monthly code of ethics. So we will go straight into our guest speaker, and I would invite up Judge Gillum, who's going to provide the introduction.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just a privilege for me to be here and be able to introduce Heather Lancaster and the group and the hard work that they do at Sanctuary. You know, as many judges in here, as certainly speaking for myself, you take office and you realize there's these assets in your community, but you don't realize the impact that they have on a community. And then you see and start talking and you see not only do they have the impact on your community, they have an impact on your region. And Sanctuary certainly is one of those entities or one of those assets that plays a vital role to our community in protecting against domestic violence. I think one of the reasons being is it's so confidential in nature. You know, they do a great job. The more that they can protect the victims, I think the better it is for that victim's success. So it's been eye-opening for me to see the impact that they have. And when you really start to think about it, a lot of the victims that they serve, they didn't have a choice. You know, we talk about a lot of our rehab houses in the state and the opioid settlement monies and the efforts that we're going to put into rehabilitating a lot of our addiction in the state. Those folks made choices somewhere along the line. Their clientele necessarily didn't make a choice. They didn't have a choice. So it's certainly a great mission, and our board's here, and I know they all supporting her. So I appreciate you all listening and having a good response to Heather.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you. I do appreciate the invitation to be here and to talk more about a subject that maybe isn't so bright and cheery, but nonetheless is domestic violence, and it is happening in our 9 counties across the Penny Realm. We know that this is a cause that is sensitive. It is near and dear to the hearts of so many. Maybe if not you, maybe somebody that you love, somebody that you care about very, very much. I do keep that in mind today. As Jerry said, I am Heather, but I work alongside such a wonderful team, and I could not do this very important work without them, so I would like to take a moment to introduce these folks here. So Kelly, our manager of sexual assault programs, is with us. We also have our board chair, Ms. Tracy Clark. She is a longtime staff member at Sanctuary, worked as both the therapist and the director of grants management. We are so fortunate to have her leadership with us and that she's back with us at Sanctuary. We also have Miss Marcia Garnett, a dear friend and a longtime supporter of Sanctuary. She is committed to keeping Sanctuary the focus, a safe haven in our communities for many, many people who need us, and they do. I also want to introduce Miss Gina Snyder. I've gotten to know Gina over the past few years. She's been working with Sanctuary and helping us to identify and navigate next steps for Sanctuary, which is what I'm here to talk more about with you today. So the courage to begin again. These aren't just words on a screen. These words reflect real life decision-making in the midst of heartbreak, confusion, and sacrifice. The courage to begin. It's an incredible leap of faith taken by hundreds of survivors each and every year who want better for themselves and want better for their children. Now, before I begin, I do want to acknowledge you and your support that you give Sanctuary, because for the past 40 years, we've been doing this work. It's because of your support, your efforts, whether that's volunteerism, maybe it's been a financial impact, it's been a referral over the years. Whatever that support looks like, thank you. You are changing lives and you are saving lives. I have to say, speaking of community support, I was so very encouraged. A couple weeks ago, we had our first ever human trafficking awareness and training event held at the Silo, and we packed the house. What this told us is that we were hungry to learn more about human trafficking, what we can do in our communities to keep the people that we love protected and safe. So together, we learned from both state and local officials what human trafficking is, how we can identify it, and how we can report these very serious crimes. So Sanctuary by the numbers. I won't read these to you. At your table, you have a year in review. Please feel free to read more about Sanctuary and the highlights from this past year, but I will ask you for your focus on bullet number 1. It's important to note that Sanctuary is more than just a place of rest. When individuals come to us, they come to us for help and services, but there are many complexities that we must first meet and address first. So while 15,467 shelter bed nights were provided in the last year, those numbers could fully never fully express the human experience behind them. Each bed night reflects a person in crisis, met with compassion, safety, and support as they begin the very difficult journey towards healing. Now, typically when I present, it is to talk about statistics. We like to see numbers, but I also like to share stories. These are not my stories to share. Today, going outside of the lines a little bit and talking about service numbers, maybe updates to programming, maybe even legislative updates, I'd like to share more with you about the planning and future of Sanctuary and how it will have a very positive effect on our community for years and years to come. So I would say the first public mention of a reimagined sanctuary and the relocation of our shelter was announced back in 2022. It was during our 40-year anniversary celebrations dinner event, and it was at that time that our leadership decided to share their vision to address some long-standing concerns that have since led us to the progress we've made today. The first of these concerns is and continues to be the confidentiality and safety of our services. For many people, we exist to be a structure of safety, to include the immediate area where we are located. Not that we don't do the best that we can do where we're currently located, but we do know that a stop sign at every four corners of our building with public street access, neighboring businesses, frequented foot traffic, car traffic, these can be significant deterrences to our privacy practices. Secondly, the building that we own, 1800s model, he continues to age. With the 24/7 usage of our building, coupled with sheltering multiple families at once, combined with the age of it, comes serious costs for repair and maintenance each year. And while we're fortunate to have some grant funding to allow for these expenses, I think we'll agree that this is certainly not the most efficient approach. Lastly, limited green space means limited options for recovery and healing. Research tells us that our bodies need green space, we need fresh air, we need nature, we need color, and these feed our endorphins, which also foster mood improvement. Now, I'm a mom, I've got two girls. My oldest is 9, but when she was a baby, she was very fussy. And there was nothing that me or my husband could do to make her stop crying until we walked outside, and then she'd get distracted by a butterfly or the clouds, or we'd blow bubbles. We see the difference that makes. Not to mention play areas for our smallest survivors. This can serve as therapy, an outlet and a distraction from the abuse that they've experienced. Let's take a look at what our clients have to say about Sanctuary. Next slide. So what we can gather from both of these slides shown here are expressions of gratefulness, but the underlying fear, the overwhelming fear, simply based upon our geographical location. So in my experience over the past 7 years working at Sanctuary, there have been numerous reports, clients sharing how they feel stuck and unable to move freely in their escape from abuse. If you don't know, stalking is a crime in Kentucky, and many people downplay the severity of stalking, but we know it can be the first indicator before physical harm is caused. Over the last few months, I've enjoyed meeting many judge executives and mayors across the 9 counties, and many of you, I've learned, have longstanding careers in law enforcement. Raise your hand. Yes, okay. And what I've learned in these discussions and what you agree is that the increased chance of homicide when domestic violence occurs and the separation between a victim and a perpetrator can turn deadly. In many cases, the offender might be taken to jail and the victim may come to sanctuary. In some cases, though, perpetrators are eventually released. What does that mean for the victim? If you don't know already, please understand that a police officer's response to domestic violence is one of the most dangerous calls they can receive on the job due to heightened emotions, coupled with weapons, coupled with physical harm. It's not good. So in our journey to relocation, we do mention the input has been critical. And this includes input received from our local sheriff and also police chief, where they both emphasize the need for sanctuary services, along with a facility that continues to protect and support survivors, as well as the officers responding to those situations. They express support for a new location, enhanced safety features, and infrastructures with a controlled entrance and private parking. Reimagining Sanctuary has taken a lot of thoughtful considerations and, of course, strategy. And in our efforts to find a solution for the concerns mentioned earlier, a number of options have been explored in making this vision for relocation possible. Facilitation and completion of a feasibility study, thanks to Gina and her team at Sinclair and Towns, and many of you who participated in this feasibility study. Observation of various shelter models, researching prospective land opportunities, planning meetings with committees, facility committees, the board, also securing an architect who could draw out renderings of our vision. And then the exploration of financing options. How are we going to pay for it? State and federal funding are our primary funding sources at Sanctuary, but we do know that there might be some allowability to help with the financing of the cost for a new shelter. Today, we are so pleased to share with you that in our concerted search efforts for Sanctuary's new location over the past few years, a land purchase was approved by the Sanctuary Board of Directors. This purchase was made last March. Throughout this search, we adhered to budget. We vetted many sites that would allow proximities to green space, healthcare, grocery stores, public transportation, and employment options. Additionally, it was a very attractive find to learn that underground utilities existed. These were in place, which is a huge cost savings for anyone who's ever done a construction project. You know, this is a big deal. Lastly and safely, I do want to share with you that Sanctuary's land purchase is located just outside of Hopkinsville city limits. But I will defer questions about specific properties in more private settings. So now we invite you to take a look into our new shelter and facility. Some of the key features here include our ADA compliant building, which will help with survivors who tend to have challenges with mobility, both smaller and larger rooms to accommodate various family sizes, our own designated parking with a security arm at the entrance, increased green space for clients, children, pets, a children's group, separate wings for residential clients and non-residential clients, and an on-site sexual assault forensics exam room. Who's ready to take a look at the building, inside the building? Thank you for enduring that very long, awkward silence as we watch this video. We realize it does not have background music. This is one of the very first drafts of the video, long-awaited video, and you are the first to see it. Amazingly, this space will be built in half the square footage of our current facility. Just to reiterate here, finding the ideal land and space for sanctuary was an exciting milestone. But along with securing land, here are the remaining goals of our reimagined sanctuary. Enhance safety and security, a healing environment, child-centered spaces, including green space for our smallest survivors, empowered staff, and of course, building efficiency. So some of our next steps in this process include review of our RFP that we currently have out for construction management services and approval of our completed loan package with the USDA. And of course, securing financial security to move forward with the cost and the construction phases that come with. And so while we're working out these logistics, we want to share this is not an announcement for a public capital campaign. However, when the time does come, we ask that we continue to call on our community for this support and hope to be able to call on our faithful friends in relocation. So all of this to say, I do realize the topic of domestic violence weighs heavily. It hits close to home for so many of us, and we all know somebody who has experienced this. Even if the abuse was years ago, sometimes the sting can feel just like it was yesterday. And while sanctuary is here and we can't remove that abuse, that past experience, we're here to work towards the healing and reminding folks that they don't have to do this alone. So I believe we've covered quite a bit here today, but I would like to open up the floor for any questions that you might have. And if there are none, this slide here lets you know ways that you can stay in touch with us and connect with us should something come up. You have a question?
What's the estimated cost? Just rough ballpark, maybe.
So until we have our construction management services on board with us, we'll know a firmer number. We project between $4 and $5 million. This is not the bells and whistles. This is putting human dignity at the forefront. And every inch of this building was designed with care. And we intend to use every space of it for what we intend it to be used for.
Any other questions for Ms. Lancaster?
So y'all have all done a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nikki.
Very needed, very much needed.
Okay.
Been great.
All right, thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Lancaster, for that very thoughtful presentation and all the work you and your staff do to support this very worthy cause. All right, next item of new business, director's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for filling in today for Judge Mansfield, who unfortunately is under the weather. What's that?
Oh, nothing. They're laughing at me.
Oh, Judge, I thought y'all were laughing that Judge Mansfield was under the weather today, but I was like, golly. I guess you all wore him out last week at his judge's conference, but anyways, thank you for doing that for us today. And Heather, thank you for being here today. I know I was telling our staff this morning, you've been with us before, and it's always great to have you here, and congratulations on everything that you've accomplished so far. And just always know we stand here ready to assist however we can in the future as you all move forward in this in these exciting things, and to provide the services for these much needed individuals. So thank you for everything that you do. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention. I know that several of you all will be in Frankfurt later this week
for a number of events. I believe the KCO legislative reception is on Wednesday night. If you are there on Thursday, just a reminder that the area development districts are hosting a lunch in the cafeteria, in the annex cafeteria. I don't have tickets with me today, but if you are going to be there, find me around lunchtime there in the annex cafeteria, and I'll have those tickets for you. That is directly right after the Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts meeting that is taking place earlier that morning. Our own Kevin Cotton, Mayor Cotton, is the chair of that group now. And so he will be leading that Kentucky Council meeting. So if you're in Frankfort, come see us on Thursday. And then later that evening, has already been mentioned, West Kentucky Thank You Night out at the Frankfort Country Club. Couple items in your packet. You will find a short list. Well, it's actually not a short list, but a list of items that the board needs to declare surplus today. Most of these items are computer equipment that is up and running. These computers do continue to work. However, they have been basically wiped of all the information from our use. We will be making these items available to our units of local government probably in the next month or so. But Mr. Chairman, we do need to go ahead and approve these items to be declared surplus. Entertain a motion to that effect. Motion second. All in favor, say aye. Opposition like sign. Hearing none, motion is approved. So make sure you take a look at that list. If there's something that you're interested in, let us know, and we'll get your name tagged to those. The other thing I wanted to remind you about, and I said this last month, but we do have an Explorer that has been declared surplus, 2020 Ford Explorer. We did extend the time frame to allow bids to come in for that vehicle just due to the weather that we had over the past few weeks. But if you're interested in that vehicle, contact Alicia or myself. We'll be happy to have you. Yes, sir.
Mayor Cotton wants to know how fast it goes.
No comment.
Jason passed me while.
But we would have a governor installed on that, if that was purchased by the city of Madison. That memo is in your packet. If you're interested, contact us. One thing that's on your table that I was asked to make mention of today, you'll find it's a green looking flyer. It is regarding the West Kentucky Harm Reduction Summit that's going to take place at the UK Extension Office up in Madisonville. There is an agenda posted here on this flyer. One thing you might want to know is that you do get DLG credits for attending this event. So if you're interested, look at that flyer and it should give you all the information about that. Also wanted to remind you that we will not be meeting next month in March due to the fact that many of us here in this room will be in DC visiting with our congressional delegation and talking about the needs of the region. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, unless there are any questions or concerns about anything. Anything else for Jason? Any other business to bring up? Hearing none, making no eye contact with anybody in the audience, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second, we stand adjourned.
Yeah.